Job numbers slide down, down, down under the weight of Obamonomics. But is the president himself about to become unemployed? I'm Alan Barton. Stand by for a special Facebook edition of Front Page. Joining me in PJTV studios are Yaron Brook, president of the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights, and Terry Jones, associate editor of Investors Business Daily. And also joining us, Alex Bratty, a partner in the polling firm Public Opinion Strategies. Alex, good to have you with us. Let's start with you.
Okay, let's go, Alan. I'm glad to be here.
All right, the Democrats ran a poll of their own over the weekend, and it shows that Barack Obama could lose the election if it were held today. I love all these if it were held today. You know, it's not. It's 18 months away. So where is he losing support, and is there any chance for his reelection if the economy does not improve dramatically?
Well, it's our friends, the independents, Alan. That's where the slide is happening. And as we know, we've talked about this so many times, independents are critical. They make or break elections. And it's not just in this candidate matchup that you mentioned in the poll. We're seeing measures that are really critical to a president's success slide in other polls with independents. For example, the NBC Wall Street Journal poll that was released this week, the number of independents saying that the country's off on the wrong track and that disapprove of his job approval or disapprove of the job that he's doing has increased. And when you see that happening within independents, it's really tough. And yes, you're right, the economy is all behind that. We're seeing that there's just more doom and gloom out there. Just 18% of voters say that their economic condition has improved compared to last year, and almost half the nation think that the worst of the recession is still ahead of us. So when you combine all that together, it shows you what's going on, and it helps explain those numbers that this far out, President Obama is facing a very difficult re-election cycle.
Well, clearly all those people are simply incorrect, because Obama's press secretary is not worried. In fact, he thinks the president is doing a swell job. Let's take a listen.
The economy is vastly improved from what it was when Barack Obama was sworn into office as president. We were in economic freefall. There were predictions that we were headed to the second Great Depression. We were losing up to over 700,000 jobs a month. We were contracting at greater than 6%, our economy was. So the economy has improved.
Terry, is this what we're going to be listening to for another 14 months? It would have been worse had it not been for the great leader.
Woulda, coulda.
I mean, vastly improved. I mean, for him to say that with a straight face, although I guess if you take the acute moment of the financial crisis, you can say, like, well, it's better than this acute moment of the crisis.
It is better than the worst moment of the crisis. I will give them that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is we emerged from the recession, and we're emerging from the recession as soon as before Obama got into office, and we emerged from it in June of the year he took office, 2009. So the idea that somehow that was Obama or Obamonomics is just ridiculous, because the stimulus package was only passed a month or so before that, and none of the spending had been done, or virtually none of it. So the idea that these were Obama's things in place, it's just ridiculous. The reason we came out of the recession was the Fed flooded the economy out with money. And basically there was a lot of money around, and people were spending something. But the fact of the matter is, you know, this idea that, you know, things would have been much worse without Obama is utterly false. It's, you know, demonstrably false when you go back and compare it to other recoveries. We are far worse off this time than we have ever been in any other recovery, post-war or even after the Depression.
Alex, what about you in terms of Carney's response there? Do you think that, I mean, we have a technical analysis where you can say, like, well, look, factually there are certain things here you can look at and know that what he's saying is a bunch of, you know, nonsense. But perception-wise, in terms of polling, in terms of the American people, will they go, well, yeah, maybe it would have been worse had he not done X, Y, and Z, which is going to be what they're going to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that that's going to be their message, right? That it's, you know, it could have been worse if Obama hadn't come along. And we are going to hear that for the next 14 months, by the way, because it's hard to see how this economy really does pick up between now and the election. But I think, you know, they're looking at this from a White House bubble. Voters do not believe this, and trying to get them to believe it when they're hurting with their pocketbooks every day, that's going to be a tough sell. Just a quarter of the nation think that the economy is going to get better over the next 12 months. And one really key indicator about how people feel and about the relationship between presidents getting elected is the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, Alan. Now, when we look at that historically, usually a winning president is elected during times when the Michigan Consumer Index is in the mid-90 range. Right now, it's at 71.5. And when we look at losing presidents, the Michigan Consumer Index has been in the high 70 range. So the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index is way below where a losing president would be. And it has been below a sort of a safety net level of 85, say, for the last 40 months. So that's another indicator that kind of tells you where the country's at, how confident they feel about the economy. And it is completely diametrically opposed to what Jay Carney categorized earlier this week. It's certainly not vastly improved as far as they are concerned.
You're on in this vastly improved climate of economic indicators of extremely high unemployment, high commodity prices, companies laying off employees. Obviously, the Fed is this huge, this 800-pound gorilla in the room. You've had QE1, you've had QE2. They said that's it. What do you think they're going to do? We know what you would love them to do, which is get the get the heck out and go away. Do you think that they are married to a certain approach that they can keep on tweaking this thing?
No, I think they'll keep, fiddling around. They'll keep interest rates at where they are right now, which is basically at zero. They won't call it QE3 because I think too much fun is being made of that. But they'll keep in the bond market. They'll keep buying stuff up. They do this stuff all the time, and they don't announce a QE, whatever. The announcement is more for kind of, for how it plays on Wall Street than anything else. So I think they'll just stay in the market and keep flooding us with money unless we see a real spike in inflation, which I don't expect because I think the banks are not lending, and as long as banks don't lend, they can keep printing money and it doesn't do much. But I don't think they're an 800-pound gorilla anymore. I just don't think what they do makes any difference. It's bad economically long term, and in the short term, it's done nothing. QE1, QE2, what's happened? Almost nothing. I would argue that if we'd elected a 10-year-old who had done nothing, we'd be booming right now. We'd be the best thing the president could have done is just vetoed everything coming out of Congress. Typically after a recession, the economy, particularly when you let the recession play out, the economy restructures. It gets rid of the fat and the junk and all that, and it restructures, and the American entrepreneurial spirit kicks in, and we rise back up. And that didn't happen after this recession. It's not happening now. The weight of the federal government and of regulation and of taxes and government spending is still on the back of businesses, and until it gets lifted, we're stacking this morass.
Last question for you, Alex. Assuming the economic situation does not improve dramatically, what do you think the strategy is going forward? Is it simply going to be it would have been a lot worse, or is there going to be some other way that Obama tries to frame this?
No, you're already seeing it. I mean, they're already assuming the position. You played it earlier, the vastly improved, and trying to harken back to where it was in 2008 before President Obama got elected. I mean, it's almost akin to Ronald Reagan's ask yourself if you're better off today than you were 4 years ago, except that it's not working very well for this president or this administration. And again, when you're faced with numbers among the American people who really don't believe any of that, I mean, they care about jobs, and they care about how much gas costs, and they care about how much food costs. And when we're doing poll after poll every month where none of this is getting better, the outlook seems to get grimmer. That's a tough sell. You're telling them one thing, but they're experiencing something else. So the Democrats are going to keep going down that road. There really isn't much else for them to say, but it's not going to have a lot of impact, frankly.
All right, Alex, thanks so much. You can learn more about Alex Bratty's work at POS.org. And viewers, help your friends get the right media in their social media. Let them know about Front Page and PJTV. Front Page has all the analysis you need of events in the news every Friday and Saturday at pjtv.com. For Alex, Terry, and your own, I'm Alan Barton. Thanks for watching.